So, start to sit, however's comfortable. We were kind of discussing in here about some of us being a little maybe leery and thinking about wearing masks again during class. That doesn't mean I would require people to wear masks, but I'm just saying if you come, say this variant starts to be a little more prevalent around here and people get nervous, if people have on masks in class, don't panic, it's still a choice to wear a mask in class. And, so if you decide you want to wear one, feel free, go right ahead. If I have one on, it's because I'm just finding myself, remember I had a really hard year, so I do not ever want to, go through that again. And I know they say, you're protected with the vaccine, but sometimes I think they don't really know everything, do they? So, okay. You get your fan on there, getting set.
Just setting it for you.
So sit comfortably. If you're on the floor and you want to sit up on blankets, you may sit on as many as you want. It can help your hips to feel better. You can stretch your legs out. If you don't want to sit cross-legged too, you can stretch your legs out. If you're in your chair, just get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And feel good about sitting nice and tall now, lengthening up as your eyes gently close. Just find a very easy place to rest your hands so your shoulders feel nice and wide and open. And then you can watch your breath coming in and going out through your nose. So just observe your breath at first. Don't try to control it. Just feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Start to allow the breath to come into the belly, feeling your belly rise and expand as you inhale. And on your next exhale, let your arms come on out beside you. So you're still lengthening up through the top of your head. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out like wings and up overhead. And on the exhale, let the hands come down through the midline to be together in front of your chest. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open our arms on back out and down. And now let's inhale again. The arms on up and out overhead. Exhale, bring them down and leave them there in front of your chest for a second as you lengthen up. And now keep your hands together and inhale them up through the midline and go only as high as your shoulders let you. And when you exhale, just let them come right back down. So you're going to just move up and down with your breath, with your hands. The inhale carries them up and the exhale brings them down. And it does not matter how high up you go. Just move with your breath here. Aware of feeling the shoulders warming up a little bit there. And the next time that your hands end up back down in front of your chest, let them stay there. And now we're just going to make a big circle. We're going to inhale our hands to the left and go up and over the top, almost like a Ferris wheel, right? And exhale as they come down the other side. And keep going in the same direction, just like you are riding a Ferris wheel in one direction, inhaling up and over the top. Exhaling as they come back down. So just circling a couple more times in that direction. And then we are going to reverse direction with the circles. Once you get at the bottom again, let yourself start to go the other way. So again, letting the breath lead you, really feeling those inhales, rise the hands up and over, and let the exhale bring them back down the other side into the midline. And then finish the one you're on. Let your hands come on back down. We're going to unfold our arms on down beside us. Good. Shake your hands out a little bit. Feel that sense of now shaking your arms out too a little bit. So you release up into your shoulders. That's a lot more than it seems like, isn't it? And then let's cross our left ankle above our right knee. Now you can be below. If you're on the floor, you're going to stretch your right leg long. So making that figure 4, it can be lower, it can be higher. And we're going to think about just easing a little bit forward with a nice long back. So don't go too far. Let it feel good. Let yourself find really that release now in the hip a little bit there, and feel your back still nice and long. If you want to, you can put your right hand on that left foot and press the ball of the foot into your hand a little bit too. Good, and now we're going to come on back up, and let's bring our right arm on top of our left and give ourselves a hug. So let yourself really allow your shoulders to melt down, your elbows to melt down. Bring your chin down towards your chest. And then let your gaze come on back forward. Release your arms on down. Take a nice inhale. And as we exhale, we're going to twist to our left. So your right hand is coming around towards your left knee. It doesn't matter if it goes all the way. Let yourself lengthen up through the top of your head. Feel your belly engaging. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to move back around through center and keep on going into the other direction for a twist. So if your left hand can come to your foot there, your left foot you can, or to the leg, whatever feels comfortable for you, releasing that back arm gently down, fingertips to the floor or arm down the back of your chair. Good. One more breath. And then use your belly to come on back around in the center. We're going to uncross. You need to stretch your legs out. Feel free to do it. We're going to switch legs. So we'll bring that right ankle either above or below the knee. And again, be mindful of how it feels in your own hip. If you can think about coming just a tiny bit forward and find that release that you can there in that right hip. Again, if you're far enough and you want to try to put your left hand on your right foot, you can press the ball of the foot gently into your hand a little bit. So just be mindful. Let it feel really good to come forward from your low back. And try not to lift your chin way up and shorten the back of your neck there. Feel the back of your head in line with your spine. Good. And one more breath here. And we'll rise on back up. We're going to bring left arm on top of the right to give a hug again. So let yourself release there into wherever you want to hold. You can go more towards your armpits. You can go up and over the top of your shoulders if you want. Let your chin come down towards your chest. And I forgot to say on the other side, but you can move your head a little bit too. Turn the chin side to side if that feels good in your neck. Let it feel releasing, whatever you're doing there. And then come on back to rise your chin back up parallel to the floor. We're going to release our arms out beside us, inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist, bringing our left hand around towards that right knee. If you go the other way, it's fine. We're going to go both ways. So just keep flexing through that crossed leg there. And if you're on the floor, flex through your long leg too. So you feel your feet flexing a little bit, both of them. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back through center. We're going all the way into the other direction. So again, just be mindful. Let it feel really good. Feel your belly engaged, the twist in the middle of your back. And just look wherever feels good. Whether you look beside yourself there or a little behind, that's up to you and your neck. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly. Come on back around into center again. And let's uncross our legs, stretch our legs out, whether we're on the floor or in the chair. Flex and point your feet a little bit there, moving through your feet. And then see about circling, whether you go the same direction with both feet, or maybe you like to do that opposite, so that they go opposite directions. I like to do a little of both. So just reverse, so that whichever one you're doing, you circle the other way, whether you're doing opposite or same. Good. And then come on down with your feet if you're in your chair. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. And if you know you do not want to be on your knees, do not be on your knees. You know, get a blanket so that you feel comfortable. You don't want to feel like your knees are grinding into the floor, right? And you want to feel your hands comfortable as well. So if your wrist bothered you, pay attention. You know, come onto your fist. That takes the wrist crease out. You can hold the edge of the seat of the chair, which will also take that crease out of your wrist. Or you can come down onto either blocks or your chair onto your forearms. You can even go on the floor if you want to, because you can still move through your back when you're lower, you know, with your shoulders down lower. So take your time. Get easy to start to move through your back with your breath. And just be mindful as you start to feel that movement, that supple movement through the spine. Cat-cow can be done with your breaths going either way. Exhaling when you pull up into your cat pose, like your angry cat there. Inhaling when you send your tailbone back and up, moving into cow. Or you can actually breathe the total opposite and be fine. So find what easy movements you can. Try not to let yourself feel like you're forcing anything. Let it feel very natural, that movement through your spine. And finish off the one that you're on. And we're going to come to a more neutral spine here. We'll bring our left foot forward and our right foot back to find our first lunge here. So a lunge, your feet can be any distance apart, right? You can be just a little bit back with this right foot so that the lunge is shorter and your hips up higher. Just make sure you're not bending that front knee any farther forward than your ankle, right? So take your time, get adjusted wherever you like your hands, on the blocks or on the chair. Take your time to find that length in the back of that right leg. And enjoy feeling the alignment here of your head as well. So you don't want to lift your chin up like this and shorten the back of your neck. Think about releasing into the back of the neck. We're going to switch legs. Now how you decide to do that is totally up to you. Whether you step forward and then back again with the left foot, or maybe you like to step backward, you know. So take your time, find your lunge, draw your shoulders way down away from your ears and find that length in the back of your neck and your throat again. That length in the back of the left leg. Good, we're going to switch legs again. So again, once you get into the lunge and you're aligned in that front knee, you're not bending it too deeply there. If you want to lift up your left forearm or your left hand up to your thigh, you can. So if you want a little more into your legs and hips, you can bring that same hand to the front thigh or your forearm to your thigh there. Good, we're going to switch legs again. So again, being into the pose there, and again aligning that front knee. Make sure it's not deeply bent so that you put too much pressure into your knee. And you can decide about bringing your front right hand up or your forearm up to your thigh. Good. And we will step forward from here to come into standing forward bend. Feet are about hips distance apart and parallel. In fact, see if you can just let yourself look at your feet. Make sure your toes are not like, sometimes one set of toes wants to face out some. You can use as much support as you need. You can put your hands up on a chair. You can use blocks on the chair if you need to. You can, if it feels better to you, bend your knees and put your elbows above your knees, which will also support your back, that length in your low back, so you're not rounding. Some of you feel really good, I know, to bring your hands down and let yourself fold over your legs. If that feels good, just be really mindful you're not putting any kind of stress into your back. Enjoy full deep breaths. Now bring your awareness to feeling your ribs move when you breathe. When you inhale, you feel the ribs expanding in all directions. When you exhale,
Just imagine releasing more and more through your face and your jaw. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So find your mountain pose, and if you need to look at your feet to make sure you've got them, really pretty even there and pretty parallel. And then let your hands come really gently to meet in front of your chest. Spread your fingers out just a little bit. And you can have your eyes open as you look forward, or you can have your eyes closed. If you get dizzy, it's probably better to keep your eyes open and imagine you're looking way out beyond the wall. And now see if you can separate your pointer fingers. So let your pointer fingers come apart a little bit, and then bring them back together. And now the middle fingers are going to part a little bit, and they're going to come back together. And now your ring fingers are going to separate, and then reconnect, and then your pinkies, and then they'll come back to meet. And now try your thumbs a little bit, and then reconnect them. And now just let yourself, as your fingers are spread and your hands are connected, enjoy that connection of your hands together there. And now feel your feet in the floor. And bend your knees a tiny little bit. Imagine you're pushing the floor away from you with your feet. And then imagine drawing upward a little bit with your thighs. So it's like you're creating space in your knees. But your tailbone is dropping down towards between your heels, and your hips feel really like they want to come over your ankles, and your shoulders over your hips. That stacking up process, the body really wants to align. And then go ahead and let your arms unfold on down beside you. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, we're going to bend our knees and come forward into our standing forward bend. You can use your chair, you know that, or your blocks for your hands. Let your next inhale help you find a nice, flat, long back. And we will step our right foot back to come into lunge here. So as you find your lunge, just be mindful again of that front knee. And inhale. And on the exhale, we'll step into a downward facing dog pose. So reaching back into your down dog, whether you like to bend your knees, whether you like to walk your dog a little bit, bending one knee at a time. Now take your time to ease your way into your down dog. And on our next inhale, we're going to come out towards a plank. Now you don't have to do a whole push-up pose plank here. You can put your knees down if you're on the floor and do a half one. Or you can come to your forearms and do a forearm plank so you get out of your hands. Just finding some core strength here. If you like to do push-ups, you can bend your elbows a little bit. Doesn't take much. If you bend your elbows a little, bring them in towards your ribs. That's a lot of work in your biceps and your shoulders. And we're going to make our way then back into down dog. So take your time. Let yourself hug your elbows gently towards each other. Feel your shoulders a little bit there. And we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge from here. And you know you can get to that lunge however you need to. Put your left knee down if you need to, both knees down if you want, and then get that right foot forward. And we'll come on back into standing forward bend with our feet right underneath us. And release to where you feel comfortable to be. So if you can, let your head hang due. Feel those breaths again now, full and deep breaths coming in to expand the ribs. Remember, your knees can be bent. Just having your torso come forward, whether you keep your back long and support yourself or come all the way down, you're still opening up the backs of your legs. And we will then bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees and rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as we come on into standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find that nice long flat back. And we'll step the left foot back this time to come into lunge. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So whether your hands are on the blocks or the chair or the floor, it doesn't matter, right? You're still thinking of lengthening out through your spine. You want to be okay in your shoulders. Remember, if you're using the blocks highest height, they can be tippy, so be careful. Next inhale, we'll come on out towards that plank again. So again, you can come into a half plank with your knees down. You can come right down to your forearms so that you're out of your hands entirely and your wrists, but you're still finding core strength. You can do little push-ups if you want. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So if you need to adjust your feet between plank and down dog, by all means do. And the left foot will come forward this time to find that lunge. So you can again put your right knee down or both knees down to get into your lunge. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. And again, nice full breaths. Use support if you need it. Elbows above the knees is fine. Letting yourself bend the knees as much as you need. Take your time. Really enjoy the breath. Release your jaw and your face. Some of you I know like to hold your elbows. If that feels good, you can. We're going to let our hands come up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now unfold your arms on down beside you, and let your head tilt to the right, your right ear towards your right shoulder. And let the side of the neck release over here, this left side, right? And now from here, take your left hand and let it trail up by your rib cage and in front of your shoulder, by your ear, and then stretch it long so you come into a side stretch here. And see if you can feel the weight of this hanging right arm. Let that arm just hang straight down so you feel the shoulder release too. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly rise back up. We're going to lower that left arm down, and we're going to tilt our head to the left ear towards the left shoulder. Stay there for a second. See if you can let yourself release through that right side of your neck. And now the right hand is going to do the trailing up by the ribs and in front of your shoulder. Even tickle your ear a little bit as you go by maybe, and stretch long into that side stretch of the body. Now feel the weight of that left arm. If you need to kind of move it a little bit and then just let it hang, let yourself feel that weight of that hanging arm. Good. One more breath. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower the arms on down, and we're going to inhale the arms forward and up into a wide V. So really let the hands come wide. Turn your palms to face each other. Feel your shoulders drop down. So it's a mountain with your arms overhead. You're very equal through your feet. Make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward. Think of reaching your tailbone back between your heels. And now if you want to look up, feel a lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. So you're letting yourself find this rising up feeling. One more inhale. And as you exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forearm bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice long flat back. Remember, you can use the chair, you can use your legs. And we are going to walk into a down dog from here. Whether you decide to put your hands on the chair seat or on the blocks or on the floor, walk back into your down dog. See if you can hug your elbows towards each other. And if your hands are such, you can spread your fingers wide if they're on the floor or the chair view. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards that plank again. Now again, you can do a half plank, you can do a forearm plank, and if you want to do a back bend, you can, but you don't need to. If you're on the floor, you can come down and then go onto your forearms and do a sphinx, or you can come down and through into it towards an up dog or a cobra. Not necessary to do a back bend at all. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Ease your way back, walk a little bit in your dog if you can, bend a knee at a time. Turn your head a little bit side to side. Good, and we're going to do that same thing. We're going to come on out towards plank, and again, a back bend is totally optional. You can come onto your belly on the floor and go up onto your forearms if you want into a sphinx, or you can do a little cobra or a little up dog. Good. Then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. And let's bring our left foot forward this time to find lunge, however you need to get it there. And then we'll come on back again into standing forward bend. Feet right underneath the hips. And again, be mindful, use whatever support. If you like to hold your own elbows through, some of you might want to put your hands onto your calves, or sometimes clasping your hands at the back of your head feels really good, but that puts a lot more into the back, so if it feels releasing for you, you can try that. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise on up, and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down, come into a little chair pose, sit back a little bit, bring your torso forward a little bit. Just be mindful, like if you did have a chair back there, it's a high one, right? But this is what you would do if you were going to sit in a chair without using your hands or your arms, right? A good practice to do at home, by the way, to really do, in other words, to like really have a chair like that behind you and sit all the way down in it, and then practice coming up. It's a lot harder than it sounds. And then press into your feet and rise on up, coming into your mountain pose there, bringing your gaze on forward. And then let yourself release on down. Shake out just a little bit. Good. And you can turn your chair around if you're going to use your chair. We're going to come into some warriors. And we're going to do warrior one first. So you can actually have your chair turned either way if you don't need the back of your chair. But do have your blocks handy here. And we're going to step our right foot back. Front-facing warrior is warrior one, so that your shoulders are square to the front of your mat. This back heel, for most people, is turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees in their warrior one. So that when you bring your shoulders around, if you're in a short stance, your hips are going to be pretty square too, right? So, but you're not going to force that. You're going to lift your belly a little bit so that you can feel this openness here in the front of your right hip. And then bring your hands behind you for a second. Now you might want to hold a wrist. You might want to hold your elbows. You might not. It might be too much, right? You can hold your hands if you'd rather. Do what feels really good in your shoulders. And you can feel how your shoulders are around square to the front of the mat. And see if you can come into a couple of breaths where you breathe into your belly and then your ribs and then your chest. So you inhale, starting at the bottom and rise up to the top. And then when you exhale, you let the breath come out of the chest, then the ribs, then the belly. And then we'll release our arms on down, and we're going to inhale the arms forward and up into that same really wide V that we did when we were in mountain. Yeah, so hands are facing, palms face each other. Let yourself feel your shoulders release down. Again, if you can get that little bit of a lift, and the lift comes from like the base of your shoulder blades. There's no compression in the low back. It's right here, and it's not a big thing, right? Maybe just looking up a little bit, feeling that lift through the front of the body. So one more inhale, enjoying that sense of real balance in your warrior one. And then we'll lower our arms on down, and we're going to straighten the front knee out, and we're coming forward here for pyramid. So if you have a chair there, you can put your hands on the back of the chair. You can continue down if you want to the seat. Or, of course, you can bring your hands down to your blocks, any height. Once you get your hands down, if you need to adjust how far apart your feet are, do. The back heel is still down on the ground. You've still got that back foot turned out a little bit. You might have to adjust it. And just feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. Feel the length of your spine here. Enjoy finding that pyramid pose. Now, sometimes after a few breaths, remember you're engaging your thighs upward, so you're protecting yourself from overstretching. Sometimes you kind of feel a little give after a little bit of being in this pose. It's like your legs just give you a little bit more, right? And you can feel a little more release for the hamstrings. Sometimes so much so that it feels good to fold over your front leg. So you're welcome to do that if it feels good. You can kind of bow forward over that leg. Good. We're going to come on back up a little more parallel to the floor if we were folded, and we're going to bend the front knee to find a lunge. Now, you want to reach that right heel directly behind your foot. For a lot of us, it'll be off the floor, right? Doesn't have to be, but it's directly behind that right foot. We're going to add a twist. So as you bring your left hand to your left hip, all the weight's there on your right hand, and you're just going to roll your left shoulder up. Your hand can stay right down here on your sacrum, or you can stretch your arms straight up if your shoulders let you do that. So the palm faces out towards the outside of your mat, right? Or you can keep your hand down. One more breath. And then we're going to bring that left hand down, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Hips distance apart and parallel. Bend both your knees. Press into your feet and rise on up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts, coming into your mountain pose. See if you can, just for fun, shift a little bit forward and back on your feet. Not so much that you're going to fall over, but you just go a little to the balls of the feet, a little more back to your heels. Good. And then see if you can let that get smaller and smaller till you feel like you're really centered. So you're not on the balls of the feet and you're not on your heels. You're right in between. It's like magic. Then all of a sudden you're just like very easily balanced. Feel very balanced between the front and the back of your body. And then we'll unfold our arms right back down beside us, shake out a little bit because we're going to go the other side for all that. So as you step forward again to the front of your mat, this time it'll be the left foot that steps back. So it might be that your feet are 2 feet apart or 3 feet apart. You know, it may be a longer stance. That's fine. You also might want to widen out a little bit for balance sake. So if you feel unsteady, if you separate your feet a little more to the outside edges of your mat, the long edges like that, then you have like your feet are more like on narrow railroad tracks. And sometimes that's an easier way to stand up and balance. Shoulders are around, remember. Bring your hands behind you. Again, you can just clasp your hands. You can hold your forearms or you can hold your elbows if you can get that far back. Don't force anything in your shoulders, right? If you need to just gently rest your hands back there, do. But that gets your shoulders square around to the front of the mat. And now remember that front knee's just a little bit bent. Just make sure it's not going out beyond your ankle there. Feel your breath. Inhale into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. Let your exhale start at the top so the breath comes out of the chest, and then the ribs, and then the belly. And then we're going to release our arms down beside us again. And let's inhale the arms forward and up again. Find that wide V or a Y, right? Whatever feels better to think about, letter shape. And then that lift. So the belly engages, that lift at the base of the shoulder blades just lets you open up here into your full warrior one. And just imagine inhaling, the breath comes up the front of your body, over the top, and you exhale down the back of your body. Feeling equal between your feet. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. We're going to straighten that front knee out. Again, as you start to come forward, you may decide you want to put your hands down pretty fast. You know, if you've got your chair there, already you might want to adjust. As soon as you get your hands down to where you're going, if you need to adjust, again, that back foot, sometimes it feels better to get longer in the stance, and sometimes it feels better to get shorter than where you were in your warrior one. But remember, the back heel is still on the floor, and the back foot is still turned out slightly. Not a lot, just slightly. And then feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. You're engaging in your legs big time. Again, give your legs time. Give your hamstrings time here. Just imagine all those muscles around the knees getting a good job done here. Really, staying strong up in your thighs and your hips. And then if you like to bow over that front leg because it feels really good after those few breaths, you can go ahead and fold forward. Take your time and enjoy feeling your breath. That pyramid pose. And then come on back up a little more parallel to the floor with your body, so you can bend the front knee a little bit and now reach the left heel directly behind your foot. So you may end up in a longer, when you're in your traditional runner's lunge, right? You may be a little bit longer. And now remember, we're shifting all our weight to our left hand, bringing our right hand to our right hip. And we're going to draw that shoulder, that right shoulder up as you look to the right. And just be mindful. If you feel off balance, don't do it. Put your hand back down and stay where you need. If you like to stretch your right arm up towards the ceiling, you know you can face your palm out and let yourself come up with that arm. So just be mindful. One more breath. And then let your hand come down, back down to the block or the floor, and step forward. Get your feet, right underneath you. And bend your knees a little bit here. Press into your feet. Rise on up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now shift back a little in towards that chair pose. So let yourself be mindful. Don't let it feel like a release if you can. Right? So as your hips shift back, your torso comes forward. So sideways, it's like this, right? You're not coming forward here. You're coming forward there. So your pelvis is changed. It's really coming into, you're reaching back through your sitting bones on that diagonal line. And then press into your feet and come on up. Release your arms on out and kind of walk around a little bit. And you know, if it feels good to feel like you're almost trying to bring your heel to slap your buttocks a little bit, that can be really releasing for your thighs and your legs in general. So just release, shake it out, and we're going to come to Warrior 2 this time. So this time, right foot is going to step back. You can still have your chair there for support. As you step that right foot back, now that left foot is parallel to the long edge of your mat, and the right foot is about parallel to the back edge. And when you bend that left knee, just look at it. And if you are able to float the heel up just a little bit, you'll see where your knee needs to go. Because when you lift your heel up, the knee has a really hard time going inward. You really want it to be out over the center of the foot. Let the heel come on back down. And then let's just bring our arms up and let your hands come a little bit higher than your shoulders. And imagine your shoulders just melting down. Really, shoulders are just melting down very easily. And then start to turn and bring the hands a little lower. Look right out over the top of your left hand there. And feel your feet in the floor. Enjoy. Turn that left palm up. Let yourself, as you inhale, rise that left hand up towards the ceiling. You don't have to look with your head. If it bothers your neck, just look forward. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle where either your left hand comes to your thigh, you can use your chair, you can go down to your forearm if you want. And now adding this right arm, whether it wants to come up or not, your shoulder will tell you pretty quickly. You can bring the arm up into line with the right side of your body. You can keep the hand down on your hip and be perfectly happy. You can have your hand on that chair for support, remember. One more breath. And we'll come on back into Warrior 2 from here. Feeling the feet in the floor. Strength and power of Warrior 2. Soften the shoulders down. And then we'll bring our hands down and we're going to turn our feet more parallel. So if you need to adjust how wide your feet are, you want them at least as wide as your shoulders. A little bit wider or a lot wider is fine. And then if you come forward, if you need blocks, you can grab a block or blocks to have underneath your hands if you don't want your hands down to the floor. And you can take your time as you bend a knee at a time. Once you get into your wide-legged forward bend, just be mindful so that you, if it hurts your knees to do this, don't do it. Just let yourself shift back and forth. And if it feels not good in your knees, then don't do that. Just stay more at center. Good. And now let's all come back into center and take your time. See if you can. If you like to use blocks and stay out of your hands and keep your back long, you can stack them up and see if that's okay for you to put like your elbows on the block stacked up where you have a long back and be able to let your head hang. Now, those of you who don't need to keep your back long, you're more than welcome to let the torso come on down and forward, and you can bring your hands to the floor, you can bring your hands to your ankles, but just be really mindful. Let it feel good. And start to watch your breath. Easily receiving your breaths. In and out. And see if you can just take time to appreciate those little spaces between your breaths. So when you inhale, feel that little space before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhale, feel that little space before you inhale. And let your face soften. And really let your jaw go. Good, and we are going to take our time to slowly come up from here. So you know how you get up from this pose. Whether you want to bring your feet together first and then rise up. And if you're dizzy when you get up there, keep wide for a second so that you're not going to fall down when you get yourself together there with your feet under you. And be mindful. Work through your feet if you need to and your ankles. We're going to come to the other side. So we're going to come with our left foot back for warrior two. And you know, how far apart you have your feet. We usually get into habits, you know, and I'm as much as the next person certainly into how long I take my stance. If you vary your stance, sometimes making it shorter or a little bit longer, it will change the feeling of the pose, and it actually, you work a little bit differently in the pose that way. So I'm going to try making mine a little shorter right now, and I've got my heels in a line. I've got my back foot about parallel to the back edge of the mat and my front foot parallel to the long edge. Now remember that knee. If you lift that right heel up a little bit, think about the knee being out over the center of your foot. And then release your heel back down. Keep the knee aligned, and we'll float our arms up. Again, higher than your shoulders, and then melt the shoulders. Just think, aha. It's like if you shrug your shoulders up and then you just go, when they melt down, right? Lower the hands enough to where now you can look out over the top of that right hand. Feel the left hand reaching back behind you. And feel your feet equal in the floor. So there's this power, this strength. Imagine your whole body in this pose right now. We're going to bring our left hand down, turn our right palm up, and inhale and reach up. So let yourself find that reverse warrior, breathing into the right side. Remember, if your neck bothers you, don't look up. Just bring your head to where you feel okay in your neck. And on your next exhale, coming into that side angle, either your right hand or forearm to your thigh or your chair. So you put that right hand down, you're leaning over the front leg, and you're keeping your back long. You can add the top arm. You don't need to. You can keep the top hand down on your hip and be happy. So be mindful. Think of the left pinky of that arm's up there, turning down a little bit towards the ground, which will bring the shoulder away from your ear. Good. We're going to come on back into warrior two from there. Feeling the feet equal in the floor. Feel that core strength, the belly, the low back, and the hips. Good. We'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. Again, how wide you get your feet, that's up to you. You're pretty parallel with your feet. When you come on forward, you can bend your knees in this pose, and you can stay with bent knees in this pose, right? It's up to you. Now, if you like to bend a knee at a time, again, you can. Don't need to. And then kind of settle into center, and let's bring our hands walking to the right, or your blocks shifting to the right. So you can walk all the way over towards your foot if you want, or you can leave your blocks out in front. And try to keep your legs equal right now. So if your knees are bent, try to feel them both bent equally. But if they're straight, keep them both straight. and then come on back through center, and we'll go to the other side. So again, you might just walk a little bit to the left. You can go all the way towards your foot if you want. Take your time. Feel that sense of how the inner thigh on that right leg now gets a little bit more. Good, and then come on back into center again. Take your time. Let yourself, if you like to bend your knees pretty deeply, you can play a little bit with a pretty deep squat there with your elbows above your knees, letting your spine lengthen out. Once you decide to come into the pose where you can stay to watch your breath, use whatever support you need, right? You can have your hands down if that's fine for you between your feet. Again, you can put your hands on your ankles if you'd like to do that. Some of you might even want to walk your hands back, way behind you, and let yourself come farther into this pose with the back rounding. But that is so not for everybody. So be mindful. Take your time. Feel the weight of your head if you can. And now again, that release through your jaw. So if it helps, think about maybe separating your teeth a little bit, maybe even your lips, right? So that you feel this sense of not clenching at all in your jaw. It's like you're even relaxing your teeth. Good, one more breath. And then we're going to slowly think of rising up from here. So again, if you want to bring your feet closer together before you get up, do it. And if you get up and you need to stay wide, if you want to walk around and move through your feet and your ankles, by all means do. And we are going to leave our mats where they are, but get a block and walk to somewhere where you can put a hand either to the wall or to a bookcase. I mean, you can even use a bookcase. Somebody can be here. Yeah, Joe, you can be there by me. You're going to turn your left hand towards whatever it is you want to touch. There, you know what? You know where you can use if you feel. You okay there, Sherry? That feel okay? Yeah. Good. Okay. Other left hand, Catherine. And now put your block down on the floor, right there by your left foot for a second, and then put your left foot up on that block. Now the block is turned so that it's the long way and it's the lowest height. So you got the block all the way down to as low as it'll go, and then when your foot goes on it, it fits. One more lower, Linda. One more lower. You're going to want to go one more lower, because what we do, you're going to be really surprised. We're going to press into that foot and lift the right foot up off the floor and then put it back down right beside your block. And you're going to go up and down a couple of times. And let me tell you, this is a lot of work. Now, this doesn't seem like much, right?
You have to move it out.
Feel it for like 2 times and then tell me it's not much. So you're going straight up and straight down. So the right foot ends up right beside the inside of the block. If you have knee problems,
This is hard.
yes, it's hard. If you did this maybe even just 3 times on each side, a couple of 3 times a day, you'd find some strengthening going on all around your knee and your thigh. You better finish or you're going to be really mad at me. So that's enough of that. Take the left foot off the block. And now put your left foot to where the block is right between your left foot and the wall. And cross your right thigh over your left and put your right toes on top of the block. So you're here. You don't have to bend any knee. You can stay right there and stay and practice just bringing your hands to your heart. And this gets into your IT band a little bit right here. If you want to know, you can stay there. You don't have to. You can if you want. Come back into an eagle pose so that you sit back like you're sitting in a chair again with your hips going backward and your torso coming forward. And you can squeeze your thighs towards each other. So squeeze your thighs towards each other. Lift your pelvic floor a little bit. You may even want to let go of the wall and put your hands to your heart. And man, oh man, that's a really good hip pose right there. working the legs. We're going to come on back up. We're going to uncross. We're going to turn around. We're going to put our right foot on the block. So, if you think about it, if you step onto that block and lift up and put the left foot right back down beside the block, it's kind of like walking stairs, right? But it's a little bit different, isn't it?
This leg looks better.
It's a very good strengthening exercise for your legs. You want to keep lower body strength. Again, even if you did it just a few times, 3 or 4 times a day, when you think about it, keep a block in your kitchen. Have your hand on your counter. Finish off, because you're probably going to be mad if you don't. And then bring the block between your right foot and the wall. So now the block is between your right foot and the wall, and you're going to cross your left thigh over your right and put your toes on the block. So you can stay straight with that right leg. You can look forward, bring your hands to your heart, and stay right there. That's a good balancing pose right there. Or you can bend your knee and really shift your hips back, and so your thighs come together and you're squeezing them. And you can bring your hands to your heart. There's an eagle pose right there. Full eagle is this crazy one that you've seen where people wrap that foot around behind that leg they're standing on. Your left foot goes all the way around and you wrap your toes. And if your hips allow you to do that, I tell you, it can be kind of fun. But it can also do a number on the leg you're standing on your knee. So take it easy, come on out of it, shake out, move around a little bit, and let's go back to our own mats. And we're going to come down onto our bellies on the floor. So you can just put your chair off to the side wherever you want. Yeah, exactly. Let yourself come on down, and what'll feel really good here is just releasing onto your belly and letting yourself make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your head and bend your knees and move your feet around. And whatever feels good back there. You can let the legs go side to side. You can let the feet circle. You can even, let yourself. I like to separate the lower legs and then cross at my ankles into the middle of the mat and then open again and cross the other way and go back and forth. But, everybody's different. Just do what feels good. Good. And then we'll finish off. We're going to come on back to now lengthening our legs back long. And let's come on to our forearms into our Sphinx pose, where we have our elbows pretty close to under our shoulders, unless this bothers your back. And if it does, come down lower, bring your elbows down more towards your waist, and there you are. This is a fine pose right here, because just to lift your head up like this, you are employing your back muscles. You are definitely strengthening your back here. And you would be if you were up here too. But you got to pick which one works for you that feels okay in your back. So bring your gaze kind of between your hands, if you have your hands out there and your elbows are under your shoulders. And maybe even look a little forward of your hands. Just a little bit. Not so much that you do this, right? There's a big difference between this and that with your neck. So good. Now from here, bend your right knee, flex your right foot. Let yourself feel how your belly responds to that. It just automatically does it, right? And then bring your foot on back down, your leg down, and do the left side. Feel what happens when you bend the knee and flex the foot. You feel what happens in your belly. It's good stuff. Now go ahead, keep the left foot up there. Bend the right knee too, so now you have both of them, and feel how now you're really going to town. And then go ahead and bring both feet on back down. Let's bring our hands, keep your hands separated here. And from here, bend both knees again and lift your hips up. Here we are in a half forearm plank with our hands separated. Forearms are about parallel to each other. And now imagine you're trying to pull yourself, really pull forward towards the front of your mat. You're on that flesh above your knees. And you're really feeling your belly, your low back, and your hips. Keep the feet flexing. Yeah. And then come on back down. Release your arms down alongside you. Turn your palms down towards the floor. And on your inhale, float up into a little locust pose. reach your fingertips and your toes back towards the wall behind you. Good, and then come on back down. Let yourself take a breath into your low back. Good, and then one more time. Inhale and float anything you can up off the floor. Coming into that locust pose. Reaching fingertips and toes back towards the wall behind you. Try to keep your gaze down so you're, again, not that same thing. Not where you're lifting your chin forward like that, but it's easy. We're going to release back down. Bring your hands by your chest and see if you can come up just a little bit. There's a cobra pose right here. You're just with your head barely off the floor, your nose barely clearing. If you want to go up higher into a cobra, you can press into your hands, let your elbows hug in towards each other, and come up higher. Totally optional, right? Stay down low. You're still using your back there. And then we're going to release and come down, and we're going to shift back towards pose of a child from here. So big toes together, knees can be as far apart as you want, and you can stay somewhat forward towards your forearms. If it's too much to bend your knees to let your hips go back to your heels there, don't do it, right? Staying kind of forward, maybe even just resting your head on your hands is fine with your hips up more in the air. And for some people, I know it hurts the tops of their feet, yeah, because you have your toes pointed, and it is a really, sometimes presses into the tops of people's feet. Sometimes if you just put a blanket underneath your feet and your ankles a little bit, that helps that. So you can maybe relax a little more in your child's pose. Breathe into your low back. Let yourself enjoy the breath, expanding your low back when you inhale. Good. One more breath. And now you're going to come up however you feel good to make your way up to sitting. Your hands might come by your knees. You're going to shift around to bring your legs in front of you. And you may, as you reach to get your strap, you may also want to get a blanket. If you want to sit up on a blanket, if you know forward bends, which is trying to come with this long back, are like excruciatingly not your favorite thing, right? Get a blanket. It can be really helpful. And let's do our right foot first. We're going to bring the strap onto the ball of our right foot, and your left foot is going to come in either like right down towards your ankle, maybe your calf. Maybe you like to put the foot up into your inner thigh, right? Maybe if your hips allow you to do that. Now, if you're sitting up tall like this and you're pushing your right foot into the strap and you're lengthening up, let the strap help you find that long spine here. So you are lifting up into the crown of your head. And when you bend your elbows a little bit and think about coming forward with that flat back, if it puts too much pressure into your knee or your hip, grab a block like that and just slip it underneath, and it can do wonders, right? So sometimes when you're sitting up, you're fine, but when you think about just coming a little bit forward, it's not so fine, right? So be where you can. I know some of you, these poses feel like a relief to you, a forward bend like this. So if you want to bring your hands down more towards your feet, your foot there, and bring yourself forward more, you can. You know, a lot of you might want to reach to your foot. Hold on to your foot. The strap just helps you really find that length of your spine, right? So even if when you inhale, you need to come out of the forward bend a little bit to lengthen out, do. And then when you exhale, maybe you can think about coming a little farther forward again. Good. Now try to let your shoulders relax. And I know it's kind of hard because it tends to make you want to round your shoulders forward. But instead, imagine you're leading with your chest. There you go. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back up. And now take your strap to help the right foot come out to the right. Just a little bit, right? It's going to help you into a side stretch, but you don't want to go so far that it feels uncomfortable.
And then slide your right hand down all the way towards your foot as far as you want to go. All right, you're holding both ends of the strap. And put your left hand on your left hip. And you're already in a side stretch right there. As you draw this shoulder up, you're in a side stretch. If you want to add the arm, you can reach the hand straight up, or sometimes putting your hand behind your head feels good. And sometimes you want to stretch long. And if you bend the bottom right elbow, you can go deeper into your side stretch, right? So be mindful, it is a very deep side stretch because you're involving your hips. You know that, you can tell your hamstring. There's a whole lot going on here. One more breath. And then rise on back up. Take your time. We're going to bring that foot back into the front with the strap helping us. And all we're going to do is switch feet in the strap. And now again, once you bring this right foot into the inside of your left leg, you decide, do you want it down low? And if it's really uncomfortable, don't even bring it in. Let yourself, you're focusing right now on the hamstring of this leg, but you don't want to put discomfort into your hip. So you've got to find what works for you. And then again, use the strap to help you. It's like as you push into the strap with your foot, it's so easy to sit up nice and tall. And then once you have that length, when you bend your elbows a little bit as you exhale, it just brings you forward very naturally. And you might want to inhale your way back up to where you were. And then you might want to exhale your way forward again. And if you get forward and you're like, well, I want to stay there, I want to think of going farther forward, then you just breathe into the length. And when you exhale, imagine coming forward again. But again, keeping that pressure into the strap with the ball of your foot. And if you get down to your foot, go for it. It's fine. Let yourself just enjoy finding where you can. Good. And again, think about leading with your chest so you're not rounding your shoulders and rounding into the upper back like this, right? It's almost like your chest is leading you forward. Good. One more breath. And now slowly rise on back up and use your left hand to help that leg go out to the side. And again, you have to adjust. If this is bothering this leg, you can even stretch it long if you want to, right? So you got to be mindful of your own hip. And then slide your left hand down, holding on to both ends of that the strap there with your left hand. And then just simply bring your right hand to your hip and roll your right shoulder up. And there you are in a side stretch. And you can add anything you want. You can bring the arm up if you like, straight up if you want, if that feels good to your shoulder. Or hand behind your head if that feels good. Or of course you can bend that bottom elbow and let yourself reach into a length here of the arm. So one more breath. It is a deep side stretch. And then we're going to come on back up and let yourself release. Take the strap on off your foot. And bring your legs on out in front of you now and your hands behind you. Now you can be right up on your fingertips. You can, if you feel good to kind of go all the way into your hands, do. But if that bothers your wrists, don't. But you have your fingers turned more backward, right? And then just draw the chest forward. You can look a little bit like to where the wall meets the ceiling maybe. But if that bothers your neck, don't. And certainly don't just let your head fall back, okay? So have a little bit of control there so you're not putting any kind of stress into your neck. Open across your chest there. Good. And then we're going to rise on back up and shake everything out because we're headed down to our backs on the floor. So bring yourself on around and down. And once you get down onto your back, bring your left knee in towards your chest. And see if you can extend your right leg down long on the floor. So whether you want to hold behind your right thigh or hold your shin, it doesn't really matter. Just flex through both your feet gently. Let the back find the floor, really. All the curves that you naturally have in your back will come back into your back in this pose. And you can enjoy feeling that support of the floor.
And then we'll bring our left leg in and we'll extend our right leg down long. So again, flex through both your feet and enjoy the floor on your back. Another thing if you can spend more time on the floor at home, lying on the floor really can naturally align the body. I know beds seem inviting, but bring both knees on in towards the chest and send your feet up for a little happy baby. That means you can either kind of just separate your knees more and put your hands on the outside of your legs and support them a little bit there with the feet up, like you're putting footprints on the ceiling. Or, you may want to reach up and hold on to your feet, or keep your hands on the outside of your legs if you'd rather. And if rolling side to side feels good, you can just let your low back get a nice little massage by letting your legs roll one way and the other. So, happy babies would be putting their feet in their mouth. So if you're so inclined to do that, you can do that too. And then we'll bring our feet on back down to the floor and let yourself just bring your knees from side to side here. So arms out beside you easily and gently. If you feel better to widen your feet and go to the outside edges of your mat with your feet and let the knees go side to side from there, you can. Or you might feel better to keep your feet closer together. Only you know how this feels for you, these twists. So be mindful, take your time, and listen to your body from here, right? There might be something else that sounds really good right now to do for you. It could be a bridge pose. It could be another form of a twist. You might just want to let your knees circle a little bit. You might feel like, it doesn't have to be a yoga pose, remember? It can be anything that is going to help you feel more comfortable for Shavasana. Take your time. Let me start to dim some lights at first, and then I'll start to come around to bring things for support for anyone that thinks they would be more comfortable to be able to have support, either a blanket under your head, or if you'd like to have a bolster underneath your knees. So just give me time to just get all the lights. And then, if you're still moving through something, do it. If you have your knees bent and your feet on the floor, I'll kind of probably assume that you might want to bolster under your knees. So, I know some of you, so I don't have too hard a time figuring a few of you out, but you might have to rearrange it once I get it there. Okay. Good. Good. Take your time, let yourself release down, feel the ground underneath you. Give me time to get around, don't give up on me, I'm still walking around. If you need to kind of move your arms or your legs around a little bit, by all means do. If you need cover, let me know that, like for your feet even, just if your feet are a little chilly, or anybody needs me to get a fan off too, let me know. Thank you. You're welcome. So just let yourself release. Remember, it's important to be comfortable through your Shavasana. So if you, instead of fighting yourself, just if you need to get something placed a little differently, do, or if you need to just roll off to your side, by all means do.
just enjoy. This is really the most important part of all you've done for the last hour and 15 minutes here, is to give yourself time to allow your body and your mind to benefit from all you just did. And there's nothing you need to do in order for that to happen except find these little quiet places. That's all meditation is refocusing back to something. So in here, it's the breath. It's letting yourself refocus onto your breath every time your mind wanders off into thinking, which it always does. So just let yourself keep coming back. Whatever helps you do that. If it helps you to count your breaths, you can just come back to counting your breaths again. You can think a word and a different word when you inhale and exhale. You might want to come back to that. But just give yourself the gift of these few minutes and allow yourself to completely and fully relax. Enjoy that feeling of the ground again supporting you, that firmness of the floor. As your breaths start to refresh you, your fingers and your toes might feel like wiggling and moving at first, your hands, your feet, you might even want to circle through your hands and feet a little bit. And let your body move the way you need. Let your arms and legs do just what they need to do as you come back. You're more than welcome to stay on your back, to roll to either your right or your left side. So if you're comfortable to use your arm as a pillow on your side, you can, or you can use a blanket if you have one there, and come into your knees being soft on your side, and just give your body and your brain a little time to adjust. Just so that when you do feel like rising up to sitting, it feels like the next natural thing to do, to come back up to sitting comfortably. Let your eyes be closed if you can. Close them again once you get up, and see if you can lengthen upward through the top of your head. Let your eyes be closed so that you can keep your focus inward and watch your breath again, coming in and going out through your nose. Feel your sitting bones reaching down and the top of your head reaching upward, so you have all that space in your spine, and it's easy to breathe. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.